So I love the concept of pre-selling your course where you validate it before you actually create it. But there's some big gotchas that can grab you if you don't know about them. So let's talk about it today. Here we go.
Welcome to the Course Creators HQ podcast, helping you navigate the latest techniques for creating and marketing online courses. And now, here's your host, Julie Hood.
Hey, welcome! So excited to have you here today, and we're going to have a blast talking about pre-selling and what that means for your course. So the concept is that you actually sell the course before you create it. And on the one hand, I love this concept because that way you can put it out there. If nobody buys, then you know it's not a good idea. And you don't waste all this time creating a course that nobody really wants to buy. So there's some things you need to know about this process, and I'm going to give you the questions to ask yourself if this is a good idea or not for the particular way that you like to create. The alternative, and I'm going to throw this out here right at the beginning, is that what if you create a mini course that is the first part of this big course that you want to do? So then you can put that out, you can create it really quickly, and you can see if that mini piece is interesting enough to get some attention before you create the big course. And to me, that feels a little bit better. So if you're interested in that, in June the 2nd through the 5th, we're going to be doing the 24-hour Course Creator Intensive over the weekend. So I'd love to have you come join me. I will put the link in the show notes, and I'll be talking about it over the next few weeks. So put that in the back of your mind that maybe that's a way to get going if you're serious about getting this course stuff together. Okay, so back to the concept of pre-selling. First, let me tell you a little behind the scenes story of how this came up for me last year. So in the fall, Kajabi did this incredible offer for people who wanted to sign up. And I wanted to do a pretty intensive Kajabi setup course. I knew that was something I wanted to have in my back pocket, that I wanted to have ready to work with folks who understood the power of having an all-in-one tool. So I thought, you know what? They are doing this incredible special so people can get started. And I think it was like 2 months for free or something like that. And I will do this course at the same time. So I pre-sold the course, got people signed up, and then jumped in, and every week had to have these super detailed lessons because the thing is incredibly specific. Like, it literally gives you checklists on what to click, where to click, what to do next, plus brainstorming around what your online business should look like. I mean, it is a monster course. Breaks a lot of my rules about mini courses. However, it did turn out really well. I'm really excited about it. And I got myself into this situation where these lessons needed to be done every week because we were under the gun to get all of this together during the time period where people had their free access. And I sort of jumped the gun on this. I knew it was something that people were interested in. I knew I could sell it. However, I did not know how many hours it was going to take me to do the lessons every week. And especially as I was getting into some of the more advanced things, I would think, oh, this will be something quick. And it would turn into a multi-step process that I need to do a video and a checklist. And I will tell you, those were some of the hardest weeks of the year last year because I was trying to crank out these lessons every single week. So that makes me very, very nervous about doing the whole concept of selling first and then promising that you're going to deliver every week after that. And so here's my questions that I want you to ask yourself before you jump into something like this. And the first one is, what kind of content am I going to need every single week? Like literally sit down and be very, very specific about what it is you're going to have to do every single week. And how long does that take me? I didn't do this step, and I should have. I had a general idea, like I knew where I wanted to take us. I knew the big steps that were part of this. It ended up being a 8-week program, and I knew what each week was going to be about. What I didn't know was the details around each week as far as what am I actually creating each week. So that's your first question, is what content am I going to need each week? Question number 2 is, how fast are you at creating lessons? So can you crank out course lessons pretty quickly? Or are you more at that beginning stage of just trying to figure out how PowerPoint works, and you're not real used to running Zoom calls? Or, where are you on that scale at being fast? So I was at a point where I knew there were some things I could do to make things go a lot more quickly. And I actually have an episode where I talked about some of the things that I did. So I will link to that in the show notes if you want to hear about how I created the course more quickly, just in case you ever get in the situation where you too need to be cranking out lessons really quickly. There's some ideas in there and specifics about how I made that happen. So I will put that in the show notes for you. So question number 2, how fast am I at creating lessons? Question number 3 is this a super detailed course, or is it fairly high level? So what I mean by that is my course was super detailed. It was literally click this box, check this box, go to this menu and do X, Y, and Z. Super, super detailed, to the point where I don't often do that level of detail. And so if it had been a higher level course, it would have been easier to crank out the lessons than the super detailed one I was doing. So just ask yourself, like, is this going to be a super detailed step-by-step kind of course? Or is it more high level that I already know the content, that I could sit down and do a weekly coaching call that becomes my lessons, that I could do that without a lot of extra work? So that's question number 3. Is it super detailed, or is it fairly high level? Question number 4, and this is where you have to be really honest with yourself. Am I good at finishing projects? So are you good at jumping into something new and making sure you get all the way to the end? And if you're not, I definitely would not pre-sell. If that's part of your challenge, is like finishing things, I would stay away from the pre-sale concept. But if you're one of these folks that, like, once you get started, you finish what you start, then pre-selling could potentially work for you. Question number 5 is, do you have a complete outline already? Have you outlined every week or whenever you're providing lessons? Do you have those details laid out so that you know what's going to be needed, and you know where you're going, and you know what you need for next week? So having that complete outline together will be super, super helpful. That's question number 5. Do I have a complete outline? Question number 6 is, what is the weekly lesson going to look like? So are you going to just release it on your platform and then your students are going to come get it? Say every Tuesday they get a new lesson? Or is it going to be something that you actually deliver, maybe in a Zoom call each week, where you're going to deliver it? Just knowing how you're going to pull that together, and like, what's the follow-up going to be? So will you need to send out emails to say the new lesson is there? Are you going to, like, what's that process going to be for delivery of the course? That's question number 6. How will I deliver the course? And then question number 7 is, can I create 3 lessons ahead? And by that, I mean, can you take the time right now before you pre-sale to actually create those first 3 lessons. So you are 3 weeks ahead if you're doing a weekly course of where your students will be, and that you can keep yourself ahead that way. So you've got a little cushion there. A little, if life goes crazy and someone gets sick and you can't do a lesson this week, it's okay because you've got some cushion. You've worked yourself ahead. So that's question number 7 is, can I create 3 lessons ahead? And then question number 8 is, what kind of collateral material am I going to have to create? So is there a workbook? Are there going to be checklists? Are you going to have to put anything else together to make a lesson complete besides just your video or just your audio, whatever it is the lesson's going to contain? What else are you going to need? So make that part of the outline, is what kind of collateral material do I have to create? So once you answer all 8 of these questions, I think you will be really, really comfortable in knowing where you're at on whether pre-selling can work for you. Because if you've got all of this laid out, then it could work beautifully. If you're a few lessons ahead, you know what you're going to have to do, you know when you're going to do it. It gives you a great way to set things up before you have to do all the creation side. So I hope this gave you a few ideas on how you could use the concept of pre-selling and what you want to be asking yourself before you actually do it. So let me give you those 8 questions again. And luckily, they're not too hard. I'm pretty sure you can answer these in just a couple minutes. So question number 1, what content am I going to need each week? Number 2, how fast am I at creating lessons? Number 3, are the lessons super detailed or are they fairly high level? Question number 4, am I good at finishing projects? And be honest with yourself on this one. Question number 5, do I have a complete outline of all of the lessons that I want to create? Number 6, can I create... Number 6 is, how will I deliver the course? Number 7 is, can I create 3 lessons ahead? And number 8, what kind of collateral materials will I need? A workbook, checklist, anything else? Hope that's helpful for you, gives you some food for thought. I do think pre-selling can be a really great way to validate your idea and make sure that you've got enough buyers. It just gets a little tricky if you only get a few buyers, or if you don't get enough to make it worth it. Make sure you have that plan in place. So if you only get 2 or 3 people signed up, what are you going to do then? Are you going to deliver it to them and go ahead and create it because you are getting paid to create your course? Or are you going to refund them? Just think about that ahead of time, just so you know. Hopefully, though, it'll go fantastic and you get 50 or 100 people signed up and all is well. And last thing, if you want to try the alternative of putting together a mini course first level step for people to take and use that as your pre-sale option, come join me in June 2nd through the 5th for a mini course content creation session and get that content together. So thanks so much for listening. I really, really appreciate having the room in your earbuds every week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing and following. And I hope you've enjoyed this week's podcast episode, and we'll see you next week. Have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you soon.